Hi, everybody. My name is Cameron. I'm the communications pastor here, and I am thankful to be here with all of you today. Are you guys thankful to be here at church this morning? Thankful to be here with all of you. I have the honor of giving you the message today, but I wanted to start off first by playing a game. Is that all right? Play a game real quick. So today is a holiday. What holiday is it? St. Patrick's Day. That's right. Happy St. Patrick's Day. Top of the morning to you. So I want to play a quick game. There's going to be 3 questions, and what you guys need to do, just shout out the right answer, and if I hear you say the right answer first, you get a treat. You get a little Lucky Charms. Isn't that nice? All right, 3 questions. They're coming at you fast. You ready? All right, let's look at the first question. St. Patrick is a leprechaun. True or false? I heard it somewhere over here, I think. You ready? Who got it? I'm going to throw it. Here it comes. Ready? No one was going to catch that. That was crazy. Okay. Question 2. What country is St. Patrick from?
Ireland.
No. It's not Ireland. It's not Scotland. England. I heard that. Where's that? Way back there? All right. I'm just gonna throw it and see if it makes it. You come to me. You can't do everything. Okay. All right. Ready? Okay. Nice. Good job. There's a third question. Here we go. St. Patrick banished all the snakes from Ireland. True or false? False. Who said false over here? All right. Here you go. Yeah, that is my bad. My bad. It's false. It was actually Samuel L. Jackson in the movie Snakes on a Plane. It was about the plains of Ireland, if you didn't know. So, St. Patrick, the real St. Patrick. If you know nothing about the real St. Patrick, here's the rundown. We know him to be the patron saint of Ireland, but he wasn't born in Ireland. He was actually born on the other side of the Irish Sea, closer to England. And in his memoirs, he describes being kidnapped at the age of 16 by Irish pirates. Can you believe that? At the age of 16, he's kidnapped, taken to Ireland, and he's enslaved. And at the time, he wasn't a Christian yet, but in his captivity, he gave his life to God. And one night, he heard a voice telling him, tomorrow morning, if you go out to the end of the docks, there's going to be a boat there waiting for you. And if you get on that boat, you can take it all the way back home and you'll be free. And sure enough, he woke up the next day, he got on that boat at the end of the dock and he made it all the way back home. And when he got there, he gave his life to God. He's probably thinking, thank you, God, so much. I'll do anything for you. What do you want me to do? And God said, I want you to go back to Ireland and spread the gospel. Can you imagine? 6 years in captivity, you've been a slave in one country, you're finally free in another, and then God says, go back and spread the gospel. Now, I want you to think just for a moment, what do you think he felt right then and there? What's the feeling he kind of felt? Well, I would say it's a feeling that we have all felt before. It's something that people admit to feeling now more than any other time in history. It comes from the pressure that is on our teenagers. It comes from living in a world that can shut down in the blink of an eye. It comes from living in a country that seems more divided than ever. It comes from uncertainty about our future. It comes from being overworked, overstimulated, and overwhelmed. What is it? It's stress, right? It's stress. And we need God now more than ever to teach us what we can do about the stress that we feel sometimes. So what does Jesus say about stress? Matthew 6:25 says, therefore I tell you, do not worry about your life, what you will eat or drink, or about your body, what you will wear. Is not life more than food and the body more than clothes? Can any one of you, by worrying, add a single hour to your life? Therefore, do not worry about tomorrow, for tomorrow will worry about itself. Each day has enough trouble of its own. Raise your hand if you have ever felt stressed before. All right, leave your hand up if you felt stressed just this last week. Okay, leave it up if you have something coming up that you are going to be stressed about this week, okay? Yeah, everybody's hand should be up to at least one of those questions. We have all felt stress before, and a lot of us are Christians. I'm a Christian, so I, like you, try to do what Jesus tells me to do, and this verse, he's saying, don't worry, don't stress. So this must be one of the most disobeyed Bible verses in all the Bible, right? We all get stressed out. Everybody say stressed out. Say it like you are stressed out. Stressed out. Right. All of us get stressed out. So why does it sound like Jesus is saying, hey, if you're stressed, just turn it off like a light switch. Just go click. It's a nifty little Christian trick. We all worry. It's not that easy. We get stressed at work. We get stressed at home. We get stressed on vacation. I remember one time I got stressed on vacation. This was in high school, and my family took a trip to England and France one summer. This was like the biggest trip that my family had ever taken, and we were always trying to go from point A to point B. Point A was always something like the Big Ben, and point B was always something like the Queen of England, and we have to get there fast because we don't know how much longer she has on this earth, and no one told us that she had another decade left in her, but it took 10 minutes to get from point A to point B. We were the family that was trying to do it in 5, right? Is anyone else's family like that on vacation? You're just rushing to the next thing. So we were rushing to the next thing, point A to point B, and we get to this gate that is like a pay per person kind of a thing. And instead of paying per person, my dad has the brilliant idea, what if we don't pay per person, we pay for one person, and we all try to go through at the exact same time. We'll make it through and save some money. And I look around at my family, all the members of my family, and everyone's nodding in agreement. And I think, we're a bunch of criminals. What are we doing? You can't just leave the United States of America and start committing crimes. You can't do whatever you want. So before I know it, my dad pays for himself, goes through the gate, and it shuts just like that. No one else makes it through. I'm relieved. I'm like, okay, now we have to pay per person. And then out of nowhere, my mom dives over the gate and does a somersault and stands up on the other side. Carter, my brother, he does a backflip over the thing, and he's on the other side now. Lexi, my sister, gets a magic wand and bubbles, around her, gets in a big bubble and floats over to the other side like Glinda the Good Witch from The Wizard of Oz, and she's on the other side too. Every member of my family is suddenly on the other side of this gate, and I'm the only one standing on this side, and I think my family's the biggest crime syndicate in the whole world. They're a mob family. I had no idea the Cunningham name was a mob family. What in the world? What, we just do crimes now? What? So then everyone is like, come on, Cameron, jump. And I go, no. And they're like, just do it. And I'm like, I won't. I could visualize in my head what would happen if I tried to jump over this thing. I'm like, I'm going to not make it. I'm going to fall back on this side. The British police are going to see me, snatch me, send me to jail, and then I'm going to go to hell. That's what I thought. My theology wasn't great in high school, but that's literally what I thought. I thought I'm going to trip and fall, not make it. The popo is going to arrest me, take me to jail, then hell. That's what I thought. So instead of all that, I stuck my hand out for the 30 cents it took to get through this dumb gate. And I remember the feeling that I felt standing on one side with my family on the other. I felt hot. I felt the pressure rising. I got fixated on just one thing, and I couldn't quite make sense of anything else. Am I describing stress in a good way, right? Is this what stress looks like to you guys? We all feel this feeling, and it's not a fun feeling. So why does God let us feel worry and stress in the first place? Well, some stress can be good. Did you know that? Some stress can be good. There's a guy named Hans Selye, and in the 1930s, he coined the term eustress and distress. Eustress is good stress. Distress is bad stress. Eustress is, you've heard the phrase, some pressure makes diamonds, right? That's kind of like this. Something is calling you to make a change, and you feel motivated to do it. You're like, I'm gonna rise to the occasion. I'm going to do this change that I need in my life, right? You feel a positive stress in your life. Distress is kind of what we're talking about today. It's negative, it's not motivating, but it's more debilitating. It's distress, bad stress. And that's kind of what we're focusing on today. So, why does God allow us to feel distress? Well, maybe God wants you to trust him with the stress that you feel in your life. Maybe you won't know what it's like to come out of a dark place if you were never in that dark place. And ask yourself, when was the last time you talked to God? Right? Maybe God is waiting for you to ask him for help. He's waiting for you to talk to him. We sometimes say, I'm feeling stressed, but I can deal with it on my own. No, you can't. We sometimes say, God want to give me something I couldn't handle. He might. Not everything is a strength training test. Some things are a faith training test. If you feel a lot on your shoulders and you kind of feel like your knees are buckling under the weight of everything that is on your shoulders, and you keep telling yourself, I can do it all on my own, don't be surprised if you fall down. Don't be surprised. We're not always meant to do it all on our own. We need help. Not everything is a strength training test. Some things are a faith training test. 2 Corinthians 12, 9 and 10 says, my grace is sufficient for you, for my power is made perfect in weakness. Therefore, I will boast all the more gladly about my weaknesses, so that Christ's power may rest on me. That is why, for Christ's sake, I delight in weaknesses, in insults, in hardships, in persecutions, in difficulties. For when I am weak, then I am strong. So give your weakness to God, right? We sometimes think I have to give God my strength. It's not going to do much in comparison to his strength. God is bigger than the giants in our life. He's stronger than the enemies that we face. He can handle it when we can't. So we need to give him our weakness. Say, I am not strong enough to do this on my own. And we need to give our weakness to God. Give your stress and worry to him. Now, sometimes we think when we're stressed, no one else really knows what it's like in your shoes. Sometimes we think, I have it worse than everybody else. There's so much going on. Nobody knows what I'm going through. But I can't think of anybody more stressed in the Bible than Job. Can you? Some of you know the story of Job. Job was a faithful guy. He was an upright man in the eyes of God. Then his animals died, his children died, and he got all these sores over him that gave him excruciating pain. And at the end of the book of Job, he is blessed by God. But the main story of Job, the stuff that we think about when we think of Job, we think this was a blameless man who had tons and tons of tragedy happen all at once. The story of Job is in the first 2 chapters of Job, and the next 36 chapters of the book of Job is of Job complaining. 36 chapters in comparison to 2. Now, I won't spend a whole lot of time on this, but are there times in our life where we make a mountain out of a molehill? Is there times where maybe you feel like you've had a stressful day, but did you have a stressful day or did you have a stressful moment that you've been complaining about all day? Right? I think it's a valid question. I won't spend too much time on it though, just because Job, that really doesn't apply to him. He is a guy who is dealing with a lot of stress, valid stress, and in some ways he's right to complain, right? It says in chapter 3, Job opened his mouth and cursed the day of his birth. He said, "May the day of my birth perish and the night that said a boy is conceived." He's basically saying, I wish I was never born. And for 36 chapters, it's ours. The whole time. No, I'm just kidding. So he's talking to his 3 friends who came to show up for him. And he's complaining, and they're doing their best to try to comfort him, but they're not doing a very good job. They're really not. They got some bad theology mixed into some of their advice. They start saying things like, Job, if you just remember, God is all good. He's all powerful. He has a purpose for everything. If you just think about what you did wrong and ask for forgiveness, then maybe God will take this affliction off of you. It's not quite right theology. And even Job, he's like talking to his friends. He's like, you guys are morons. That's not how God works. And that's not really what's going on here. I didn't do anything to deserve this. So they kind of get a bad rap, these 3 friends. Where if you read the book of Job and you get any verse out of these 36 chapters, sometimes they sound right, but then the next verse it's wrong. So be careful if you're trying to use this in your own reading. Skip ahead to like chapter 38. That's where it gets good. It's really good there. But they get a bad rap, but they didn't do everything wrong, right? They did 3 things right. What did they do right? They came to him, first of all. When Job's 3 friends, Eliphaz the Temanite, Bildad the Shuhite, and Zophar the Naamathite, heard about all the troubles that had come upon him, they set out from their homes and met together by agreement to go and sympathize with him and comfort him. 2, they empathized with him. Verse 12, when they saw him from a distance, they could hardly recognize him. They began to weep aloud, and they tore their robes and sprinkled dust on their heads. And they spent time with him. Verse 13, then they sat on the ground with him for 7 days and 7 nights. No one said a word to him because they saw how great his suffering was. Are you thankful for friends who are just kind of doing their best? Like, they don't have the best advice to give all the time, but at least they're there. It's the friend that's like, man, I'm sorry you're going through all that. I just feel so bad. Do you want to punch me in the face? Would that make you feel better? And you're like, I like the way you think, but I won't do that. I'm going to skip on that for right now, right? Their advice isn't always the best, but at least they're there, right? But I think that when we are stressed, we need to seek wise counsel. If you have people in your life who can come to you in your time of need, they can empathize with you, and they can spend time with you, and most of all, they can give you wise counsel. These are the friends you need to hold on to for dear life. They're going to help you walk this walk. If they are a believer and they believe in God, they can give you amazing advice, can't they? Right? These are the friends you need to rely on. Go to them and tell them, hey, I got this and this on my plate. I got so much in my schedule. I'm overwhelmed by this, and I just need some advice. Can you lend some advice to me? And this person who can do all 4 things, they will be able to help you. They'll give you wise counsel, and we should seek them out. I love that my wife and I, we're able to be each other's wise counsel sometimes when we're stressed. When I'm stressed, I love going to her because I get fixated on one thing when I'm stressed. Is anyone else like that? I just got fixated on the problem. And she helps me see more perspectives, and I'm like, okay, that makes sense. So I love going to her to get fresh perspective. And when she's stressed, she can come to me, and I can do the same thing, giving wise counsel. So I love that we have that relationship. And she gave me a great analogy of when she is stressed, it reminds her of feeling ocean sickness. When she's on a boat and it keeps rocking, and in her gut, she feels like this tension. Does anyone know what motion sickness is like, ocean sickness? So what helps her is to focus on the horizon, right? It's something still that she can just fix her eyes on for a moment. And I thought that was such a good analogy, and it made me remember a story in the Bible of other people that were in a storm. When you are in distress, does it feel like you are in the middle of a storm? Like waves are just hitting the side of the boat and you keep rocking and you feel this thing in your gut that just won't go away. You feel that tension. Well, it says in Matthew chapter 14, Jesus was off praying while his disciples were in a boat on a lake, and the waves were thrashing against the side of the boat because the winds were so strong. And then, it says in verse 25, shortly before dawn, Jesus went out to them walking on the lake. When the disciples saw him walking on the lake, they were terrified. "It's a ghost," they said, and cried out in fear. But Jesus immediately said to them, "Take courage, it is I, don't be afraid." "Lord, if it's you," Peter replied, "tell me to come to you on the water." "Come," he said. Come, he said. Then Peter got down out of the boat, walked on the water, and came toward Jesus. But when he saw the wind, he was afraid and began to sink. He cried out, "Lord, save me." Immediately Jesus reached out his hand and caught him. "You have little faith," he said. "Why did you doubt?" And when they climbed into the boat, the wind died down. Then those who were in the boat worshiped him, saying, "Truly, you are the Son of God." Does it feel like you're in the middle of a storm when you're feeling stressed? Well, the good news is that Jesus is in the middle of that storm with you. He's walking on those waters, and he's looking right at you. He's saying, "Fix your eyes on me. Just look at me. Look at me. I'll be able to help you. You'll be able to walk on the waters of the storm. It's okay if you just fix your eyes on me." And Peter was able to walk on the water just for a moment until what happened? He started looking around. He started looking at all the disaster, the stress that was coming at him. And Jesus says, "Why did you doubt?" And he's asking us, why did you doubt? Why did you look away from me? And we're like, well, I had so much on my plate. I just had to look just for a moment. It seems so stressful. It seems so big over here. I had to attend to it, right? Jesus is saying, no, fix your eyes on me. So look at Jesus. Look at Jesus. Look at Jesus. Let's fix our eyes on him. In this last moment together, I want to do things a little bit differently. I want to do something meaningful and concrete that will help us fix our eyes on God. So instead of ending with a song, we're just going to do a bit of a reading, a meditation on some verses together, okay? Is that all right? We're going to meditate on these verses. Now, for half of us, I imagine, this will be really helpful right now. You've been feeling stress all week, stress all month or year, and I just want to lift off some of that stress off of your shoulders. For the other half of us, maybe things are good right now, but if there's one thing I know about stress, it's that stress can rear its ugly head at any moment, and if you don't feel it now, it's probably going to come in the future at some point. So, if you're in that camp, I want you to use this as an opportunity to learn a tool that you can have in your back pocket whenever you feel stressed, okay? So, right now, I want us to close our eyes for a second. And let's together take in a deep breath and let it out. The Hebrew word for breath is ruach, and sometimes it's often translated as spirit. So when people say in the Bible, "I have the breath of God in me," they're also saying, "I have the Spirit of God in me." So let's take in another breath, but this time, breathe in like you're breathing in the Spirit of God. It says in Psalm 119, verse 15, "I meditate on your precepts and consider your ways." So let's meditate on this verse together and hear what God says to us. In Zephaniah 3:17, it says, "The Lord your God is with you, the mighty warrior who saves. he will take great delight in you. In his love, he will no longer rebuke you, but will rejoice over you with singing. Isn't that amazing? Now, all that stress that has been on your shoulders, I want you to put it in a different spot. Instead of putting the stress on your shoulders that you've been feeling, I want you to take it off and put it at your own feet just for a moment and take one step back. Can I just say, looking at that stress, that looks like a lot that has been on your shoulders. You are dealing with so much. If that was on my shoulders, I'd be feeling the exact same way. I would be feeling stressed too. And in front of us, it looks insurmountable sometimes. It looks like way too much going on. We can't do it on our own. But luckily, it doesn't have to be in front of our feet. It doesn't have to be on our shoulders. Right now, I want you to take that stress and put it at the feet of God. Who is God again? He's with you. He's the mighty warrior who saves. He will take great delight in you. In his love, he will no longer rebuke you, but will rejoice over you with singing. This is the God who's standing right in front of your stress right now. It's not in front of you, it's in front of him. When it was in front of us, we were powerless to do anything about it. We didn't have to do it all on our own. It was way too much on our shoulders. But when it's in front of the feet of God, it looks pretty manageable, doesn't it? It's not something that we have the power to do anything about, but at the feet of God, he is powerful enough to handle your stress. You are not going to fill up his plate. It was a lot on our plate. It's not a lot on his, right? And at his feet, we can just leave it there. We can just leave it there. Now I want you to open your eyes, and I want to give you a pro tip. That stress that you put in front of Jesus' feet, you can leave it there. And when you need to in the future, you can think about the responsibilities that you have. You can pick up that responsibility and leave the stress where it is, okay? So today, before you guys leave today, I want you to remember where that stress is. It's not on you anymore. Where is it? It's at the feet of God, right? And in the future, when you feel stressed about anything else, you can just put it there. And you're not going to fill up God's plate, right? He is bigger, he's stronger, he's able to do this. So with our stress, we remember we're going to give our weakness to God. We're going to seek wise counsel when we can, and we're going to fix our attention on God. Let's fix our eyes on him when we feel stress, okay? All right, allow me to pray for you guys. God, I thank you so much for everybody here. I thank you that you love us enough to take on the stress that we feel. God, remind us to trust you with the stress that comes our way in the future. God, we love you. We thank you that you are big enough and strong enough to be able to handle this. We remember to give our stress to you today. In your name we pray. Everybody said, amen.